A lot of people talk about how they have nothing saved for investments, but they want to start. So I said to myself, what if I started at zero? What would that look like? So in this video, we're going to go over from start to finish what I do to become a millionaire starting at zero. Let's go. So if we want to make this super realistic, we're going to start in the negatives because most people have debt. Let's say we have 3 to 4 credit cards that we have to get rid of before we can start our wealth building journey, which is kind of similar to how I started. The first thing I would do is get rid of my debt using the debt snowball method. I have a link in the description that will send you to the PDF that'll get you started. I'll also put in the description a video on how to do it step by step. Depending upon our current job, the getting out of the debt process is going to take maybe 1 to 2 years. And while I'm doing this process, I'm also going to be saving at least $1,000 in a high yield savings account, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're starting to build wealth and get out of debt, and then you have a flat tire or you get in a car accident, and then you have to use the credit card again for an emergency that you didn't expect. And let's say I'm just working a traditional 9-to-5 job. I only have one source of income. I can't do that if I plan to be a wealth builder. So as soon as I get home from my 9-to-5, I'm taking a week to a month to figure out what potential side hustles I can have. And if I don't come up with anything good, I'm just going to get a second job. And let's say I don't even have a job, but I want to become a millionaire. I'm going to be taking anything that I get. Some people, when they get a high enough level of education, they think certain jobs are beneath them. But if you have a goal, nothing should stop you from getting your goal. So if you want to have access to more money, you're going to be a burger flipper, or you're going to be a cashier at Walmart. And no disrespect for burger flippers or people who work at Walmart, but people often have that mindset of, I could never do that job. So to recap, I'm taking 1 to 2 years to, 1, get out of debt, establish a high yield savings account that's going to serve as my emergency fund. I want at least 1,000 in there, and I'm having at least 2 sources of income. And you got to stay tuned for the rest of the video, because I'm going to be dropping more gems that are going to help you become the first wealth builder in your family. Even though I'm out of debt, I'm going to pretend like I'm still in debt. I'm going to send all that money that I was using for my debt and send it to a high yield savings account. And this isn't going to be for emergency funds, because I still am funding that monthly, but this is going to be for future investments. Now, the first thing I want to invest in is a subscription to Audible. Popping up right now is going to be an annual subscription. If you're new to wealth building, chances are you have no information. So you got to educate yourself, and you're not using your 12 free credits for Harry Potter or Game of Thrones. You're using it for non-fiction books that'll actually educate you on wealth and business. Here is my list that I would recommend. This also in the Investors Mini Guide that we'll talk about later. But your subscription to Audible is going to help you change your mindset on how you've looked at money in the past. Because if you're like me, you came from a poor family and you thought having a lot of money is not going to be obtainable for you in your future. You have to work a 9-to-5 until you're 70, and then you get to retire. The books I've outlined for you in this list are going to say, yeah, whatever you've been thinking, it's all wrong, and this is how you should go moving forward. The best thing about having an Audible subscription is that it's audible, so you can be listening to it almost any time that you're awake, while you're mowing the lawn, while you're going to work. And something that I do is put the book on 2x speed and then listen to it so I can get through it faster. Now, if the book is dropping gem after gem, then I ask for it for Christmas or my birthday so I can go into a deeper dive. Another thing that's beautiful about Audible is that if you don't like your book, you can say this book was not for me, and sometimes you can get your credit back so you don't feel like you've wasted anything. And then at the end of the year, what I'm gonna do is cancel the subscription. I still get to keep all of my books, I just don't get new credits, and that's okay, because if a book pops up for you that you enjoy, you can buy the book a la carte and it just is added to your library. So you've got 12 books you got for free, and then any additional book you want to add to it, and you're never paying another annual subscription again. So now that our education is shifting to wealth builder mode, I'm going to be opening up 2 accounts, a brokerage account and a Roth IRA. I'm going to open up a brokerage account at Robinhood. I'm going to open up a Roth IRA with Charles Schwab. Why the 2 when you can open up both at one. Here's the difference. Robinhood has the best user interface that I've seen anywhere out of all the platforms that I've tried. But Charles Schwab is like the tried and true platform that offers you almost everything that you can think of under the sun. I'm gonna get real comfortable buying stocks, looking at maybe options chain if I wanna get into that business on Robinhood, but the real bread and butter is going to be my Charles Schwab account. And then eventually, if you wanna open up or transfer your Robinhood account to your Charles Schwab once you get more comfortable with investing, then by all means do that. So the debt money that we were talking about earlier, where I'm pretending that I'm still in debt and I'm just sending this money to a high yield savings account, now this is gonna be activated. I'm gonna take 20% of that monthly old debt and I'm gonna put that into my Robinhood, and then I'm gonna put the 80% into the Charles Schwab Roth IRA, because I wanna be able to grow and have my wealth tax-free for when I get to retirement. Now, I just have to make sure that I'm not going over the annual limit. The limit for a Roth IRA this year, 2026, is $7,500. So divide that by 12. You can put up to $625 each month and you won't get hit with any penalties. So if you have anything over that, you can again feed it into the Robinhood. So now you're growing tax-free wealth in your Roth IRA, and then you're growing a taxable wealth in your brokerage account. And this will come into play if you want to make a bigger purchase later on. And depending upon how aggressive I want to be, I'm doing SPMO in both. If you want to get into portfolio theory in the comments, let me know how you would set up your first account if you are already investing. And I'm going to just be DCAing my money into those accounts. If you don't know what DCA is, you got to check out the mini guide for new investors. If you want to know how to open up an account with Charles Schwab or Robinhood, check out the mini guide for new investors. If you want to be confident in what to invest in for the first time, do you know what you should do? That's right, check out the mini guide for new investors. Now stay tuned to the end because I'm gonna show you a way to preview the mini guide for free. Next, we have to up our Bitcoin game. So we have to open up an account with Coinbase because they're the most user-friendly for Bitcoin. Fidelity also has something. So either Fidelity or Coinbase or both, really. Doesn't hurt to have it in different platforms. And then I'm gonna be, again, DCA into Bitcoin. If I can scrounge around an extra $100 or take the 20% that I'm feeding into my Robinhood and put in just 10% into Robinhood, and then 10% of that goes into Coinbase so I can start accumulating Bitcoin, that's the route that I'm going to take. And I don't want to focus on any of the other coins, even though Trash Coin may be blowing up or Poop Coin may be doing its thing. I want to stay focused on Bitcoin. And then those two sources of income that I was talking about earlier, where I have a job that's my 9 to 5, and then I have a side hustle where I'm doing something that's maybe like 6 to 10 or something like that. I want to make sure one of those has benefits. I want to be in a place that has benefits because I'm looking for something that can get me access to an HSA. It's a high deductible medical account, so you will be paying a higher deductible when you go in for medical treatments, but you have access to an HSA, which is a triple tax advantage account when it comes to building wealth. And I have another video somewhere that you can understand all the different advantages of an HSA. I'll pop it up for you right here. If we're being honest with each other, the first 2 years was just getting out of debt. The next 2 years are building wealth, establishing a great mindset, and I'm going to leverage all of that information and start making products so that I can sell to people and say, hey, if you are in this situation, I know exactly where you were and I know exactly how to get out of it. So here's a mini guide, or here's a book that I've written where you can learn from me and fast track your progress. That's why people buy things. They're trying to stop a pain point from happening. So people don't want to go out to the grocery store. There's Uber Eats or there's Instacart. We're trying to fast track everything in our life. So if you want to be in a position where you want to build wealth, you can take the time to figure everything out, or you can just talk to somebody who's done this and you fast track everything that would have taken you years to learn. Okay, now some people might skip this step, but now that I've got zero debt, my my credit score has increased. So now I have the option to get some debt at a lower interest rate. And you definitely don't need to do this. It depends upon how fast you want to build your wealth. But I'm taking out 5K loans, 10K loans to then put that into investments and paying off the loans over time. And I'm just constantly getting into debt, but using all of that debt to buy more assets. Think about this. If inflation continues to rise, your assets will increase and the value of the money that you're paying the person back with is decreasing. So the longer you keep a loan out, the less money you're actually giving back in the long run if you have a low enough rate. There's a credit card arbitrage that is gonna be too complicated to explain right here. So I'm feeling I'm gonna have to turn this into a video, but long story short, I use my personal line of credit to buy assets. And then I use credit card offers to buy the debt from my personal line of credit to transfer it over to my credit card. And because it was a special offer, the rate is at 0%. And I just slowly pay off the credit card over time, never paying anything in interest. I just have to do the initial transfer fee. And then my goal is to pay off the credit card balance before the 0% special offer ends. So I'm essentially printing money, paying a fee, but not paying any interest. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a deeper dive on that because it's pretty nice. So we've got 2 of the 4 pillars of wealth covered with stocks and Bitcoin. The last thing I'm doing is opening up a business. And if you have your intellectual property, your knowledge that you're turning into books, that's a pretty much a pseudo business, a digital products business. So maybe you want to get into an actual business. Maybe a friend that you know is passionate about starting a business like a food truck or something, and you trust them. They just need capital. Well, now you have access to that capital in the form of your brokerage account. You're not selling your Bitcoin, just work out of your brokerage account. And for real estate, you just have to have enough money for a down payment to start your real estate adventures. There are ways to get into real estate with little money down, like tax lien properties or Airbnb arbitrage, but you're gonna have to do a little bit more research on that before you get started in that field. After year 4, the next 6 years are just doing the same monotonous process over and over, stacking money, investing money, stacking money, investing money, maybe using a little bit of leverage in the form of debt to accelerate your stuff faster, but you don't need to do that. As far as stocks go, index funds, keep it simple, stupid. We're not trying to get crazy. If you want to accelerate, then you're gonna go into something like individual stocks or maybe tech funds, but it's always a crapshoot. You don't wanna be upset with yourself when you could have taken the slow and steady route as opposed to the faster pace route. That's gonna do it for this episode, but I neglected to mention what would step 0 be. And step 0 is your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you going after the bag? Because it's gotta be a little bit more than you want to have $1 million for the first time in your life. So when I first started out, it was to protect and to provide for my family. And then as I grew in this, I added faith onto it. So those became non-negotiables. If my family wants to go do something and I am behind on getting content out, I do whatever it is that my family wants to do. On Sundays, I do nothing that relates to me generating money because that is the day you're supposed to keep holy and keep spiritual and just work on yourself and become the best version of you. So that's what I do. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my steps. Have you started your own wealth building journey and what did it look like? All that jazz. And let's have a healthy discussion. If you are somebody who wants to start their wealth building journey for the first time, I strongly recommend you check out the mini guide. There's a free preview version. It's showing for you right now, but you don't get all the content that you would get if you actually pay for the mini guide. Take advantage. Even if you just do the free version, at least expose yourself to some information so you know, okay, this is not as daunting or as crazy as I thought it would be. And until the next one, remember to smile because you are beautiful. Peace.